Alright, welcome to Monkey and Frank. My name's Doe, and my name's Dom. Doe's the soul, Dom's the body. But I am Doe. That's who's talking. Dom would be mother. I wanted to start by just saying I am love. I am safe. I am wise. I am blessed. I am enough. I'm not this body. I'm not my thoughts, but I am the awareness of my thoughts in this body. And without me, there would be no existence. I am the awareness, the one that creates, that observes. I am perfect. I am enough. All right. The journey continues. Come back from Yoshi. Come back from my first mushroom trip. I am feeling blessed that I've learned a good way to be able to break my thoughts by taking a deep breath in, staying at the top. I am love, or I would say at the beginning, I love myself. But after talking to my guru, he explained to me that I am love is more powerful because of source and I am, and I agreed. So I started saying I am love, and it was feeling good. But the one paradox that I could see is that even without thought, I was still able to get triggered and to really see the, I guess, injustice in my life or in the relationship, or what I felt like injustice, right? And the biggest ones in my life, the ones that are catching me and I'm unable to get over the hump even to this day, is the wife, your partner relationship, when it comes to how to communicate, how to grow, how to clean the house, how to work together, really. But unfortunately, my triggers were not allowing me to properly communicate, and it's still to properly communicate in a way that works for her. Now, the issue that I've always had growing up and even now is, why would my method of language, why should I change basically, and why? So I was still getting triggered, but I was having the breath, I am love, and I could see as well the reality of the teaching, the one that says that everything is a reflection of yourself. Everything that you see in front of you really is designed for you, and even other people, the way that they behave with you, the way that they talk back to you, it really is just a reflection of yourself. And I really was paying attention to people at work, to my wife, and to my children. And yes, I was seeing more and more clues through listening to Ram Dass and Eckhart Tolle and you name it. And everything was going together, and I could really, really see, and I was really start to grow in my spiritual knowledge. I was able to practice it. But again, the feelings of disappointment because of the inability to get past the wife, the relationship, the one that says, I am feeling so sad, I can't get it out, I get angry. We all know this. I've learned this in my journey in Peru, the mushroom, with, the feeling of being so vulnerable. Because coming back to this amount of crying really was making me realize my frustration is sadness, and talking about it, and yet it's so hard. You can't expect somebody like my partner to not, and to have all of her grooves erased, right? Everything that I've done thus far in my depressed, very saddened state because of my fears of death, my loss of my cousin, everything was so heavy, and I was grasping at straws. Um, Still, I was getting caught. She was being patient, loving, understanding, giving me space, and to this day, I it's as if I've brain damage. And maybe I do, and that's fine. Like that's my journey. That's great. I am here. I am now. I trust the process. I trust Mother. I trust life. Um, and I'm talking to you guys about it. I'm growing spiritually. That's amazing. So I have the breath. I have the I am love. The knowledge is coming together. I can see clearly that I'm sad. I need to do more. So I decide to look for mushrooms, or at least grow them and try something. And I find, I can't believe it, you can buy mushroom online so easily. So you order the mushroom. I ordered 7 grams, and I took the first try 3 grams. And what I had planned, because again I had a courage due to my sapo experience and ayahuasca, that I would be fine. I have my breath. I have the knowledge. I have the ability to see, what's going on. And so I decide to take half of the mushroom and plan to do an evening trip, and say when the children are about to go to bed, I'll eat the mushroom, I'll go downstairs, and I'll go through and go inward, and I'll find out exactly, what my trauma is, and I'll be able to, I have the courage, I can do this, yay. So I get the mushroom, and it's B plus, and I take it in a tea, go downstairs, and I lie down, and the mushroom comes on the same way that it did at Yoshi's place. But this time around, the one thing that was different is when the feeling of the mushroom came up, right away I had the feeling like, oh no, I don't want to do this. And again, meant to be, trust the process, but I couldn't shake it. I was closing my eyes, I was breathing, and I felt like, oh no, I don't want to be here. I'm starting to get cold. It's quiet. I don't like it. And I'm just waiting for my wife to come downstairs, and I'm feeling uncomfortable, and I'm not enjoying what's happening per se. But I remember ayahuasca. I remember my first and second journey. So I just think to myself, breathe, you got this, but I'm unable to focus. I'm unable to breathe. I'm unable to get into it. The mushroom is just, it's not powerful enough to throw me over the edge like it did at Yoshi's place with the 5 gram, but yet it's enough to make me feel like this is a journey, and it's going strong, and the body sensations are there, and am I enjoying this? Am I not? And I take my deep breaths, and I try to do the I am love, not necessarily working. Finally, the wife comes downstairs, and I ask permission to cry. So I cry, and I cry, and I cry. And then after a while of crying, and again crying, and crying was still not enjoyable. I was feeling like decay. It was feeling like everything was kind of sucking in, and it was very much about death, and just not happy. But my thoughts were not necessarily negatives. I really had great teachings of, lessons after lessons. My thoughts were there going after the mushroom. For me at that time, at 3 grams, was really one thought going after another thought, and oh, look at this, and because of this, this is the lesson, and very profound things. But very much sad though, death and decay, and the hallucinations were not grandiose like at Yoshi's place. Like when I looked at Yoshi's face, his face would get so deformed. He would have 1,000 eyes. It was the most beautiful thing. This one around, it was, yeah, not so enjoyable. So after a while, my wife says, I gotta go to bed, and she goes to bed, and I am left in the basement saying, I can't do this, it's the last stretch. And I knew what I had to do. The knowledge was there. And I had this pain in my left shoulder, and I still do a little bit. And I was doing physio about it. And the mushroom, in its grand knowledge, because of really the awareness of your brain being so firing at every level, I was feeling my body in a new way, and the pain in my shoulder started to, I couldn't get out of it. I couldn't shake it off. So I had to go inside of it. And while I was playing inside of my pain, it was extremely painful. It was as if I was taking a little scalpel and going into each location of my pain and dissecting it and seeing it from all point of view, as if I was in a 3D modeling computer thing. And the more I would touch it, the more it would hurt. But it was all internally. And I thought to myself, okay, this is weird. Like, what is going on? I thought it was all about healing trauma, and now all of a sudden it's all about me, the body, and crying. And it's not like ayahuasca was really showing me, hey, look, you've got an archetype of a monster that is so great and so powerful that you're scared of it, and because of that you've never taken action in your life, and now look where you are. Like, look at the amount of trauma that you've accumulated. And the mushroom were saying, or not even saying, they were like, here's your pain, here's your body. And I was breathing, doing the, not even the Wim Hof, but really doing the breathing that I do, where I take a deep breath, hold at the top, analyze what's going on, and let go. But that lasted for 2 hours, and really not enjoyable. But it did give me a good perspective of, and a good practice of looking at my body in a way that was very narrow and specific, and nothing else. It was just me and my body. No thoughts of past, future, or I was doing really good at that. Because of the I am love, it was really doing a good break stop at me thinking about the past and the future. But yet, so after this trip, still not feeling, because the triggers are continuing, so still not feeling happy. The feeling of depression and anxiety and a feeling of panic attack would come in, but I would be able to handle that, and it would be just a daily grind. Get up, go to work, come back, get triggered by the mess and the chaos of children, and go and repeat, rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat. And, stay quiet, do as much as possible to keep your own suffering to yourself. And poor wife, poor everything. I'm feeling shame by just, knowing that I'm going to be a bummer. And yet, when I'm at work, I am somewhat happy because I can be fake, I guess, in a way where we can be distracted. It's like watching TV when I felt like it was a form of lying, it was a form of entertainment, but it does make me happy. It distracts me from who I am, right? I get to share some love with others. I get to show compliments and be a nice person. I like being a nice person and smiling at other people. And the lesson, and I know that lesson is, the real, be there for others. Yeah, sure, yes, 100%. But I want to be there for myself, so that when I am alone, which is most of the time is COVID or even not COVID, when I came home, like, I didn't have any friends. The only friends I had were my family from Peru, and even though there was no COVID at the time, it was solitude. I have to be there for my family. I have to clean up. I have to do my chore, pay the bills, this house. And being in a partnership, Even though I went to Peru, I can't just say I'm going to go live in a van and be a hippie. I had, whatever. And still to this day, right? So that's how I was feeling. And the the mushroom was teaching me about the body, and I was good with it. So I decided to take again the mushroom, the rest that I had, the B plus, and it gave me basically the same result. I cried at the beginning, and then at the end I was left with my body, but in a more profound way, where on top of feeling my pain in my shoulder or wherever it was feeling due to my whatever, I was doing CrossFit, right? So you get hurt here and there in your lower back, and everything's compensating for others because I've done nothing for so long that you know what it is. Maybe not. It's my journey. And I was disappointed again at the idea that I was not reaching my trauma. But I have to give you guys a clue. The one thing that I was not yet realizing that I know now is that the body is where the trauma is held, and healing your body and going into your body by stretching it, going to physio to do dry needling. Dry needling is my passion. I've been doing dry needling for, I can't even say that, my French in me, needling, for the last 2 years to improve my body, but only since Peru, since last year, that I can really go deep into it. And like, there's a new perspective of like going. But anyways, the clue is that the trauma is inside the body, and we're gonna get there in the future. I just wanted to give you guys a little bit of hope that everything's gonna be the bliss, is gonna come sooner or later. So now I decide, at this point, I was doing a lot of cannabis ceremony. She was teaching me a lot of beautiful things. I was missing Mother with all of my heart. Because I was unhappy with my daily grind, I was hoping for something greater. I wanted to go back to Peru. I wanted to be back at Arcana Spiritual Center and just live there forever and become a shaman. I knew that I could go inside any trip. The mushroom was kicking my ass, 3 times in a row, but I was not scared of it. I still wanted to go deep. I still wanted to go back. I wanted to figure out what was going on. I didn't know that my body was the key. So, but I was doing a lot of sapo breathing. I was doing a lot of Wim Hof, and for a while when I came back from Peru, I couldn't do cold showers. It was too intense. I couldn't handle it, and my relationship with the cold kind of went astray. Because before Peru, the only reason why I went to Peru, to Arcana Spiritual Center, is because I was able to do cold showers, and I started talking to the cold, and I realized I started talking to the cold because I saw a video of one guy that went to Arcana, and they were talking about the plant medicine as if it had a voice and it was a mother, and I'm like, spirits, huh? I should use that in my imagination. Like, so anyways, so I go in the cold, and the cold really takes your breath away, and you can't think of anything else, especially in Canada. When you put it full cold, it's insanity. And it was September or October. It was getting cold, and I was taking a full cold, and I was going at it, and I was just breathing the way Wim Hof, full breath in, let go. And then at one point I realized, and like the video came back in my mind, and I said hi to the cold, and it said hi back, and it blew my freaking mind, because it really felt like my inner monologue, but I was not expecting that so fast. Like, the way that it responded inside was not my timing. It was not the same frequency, if you know what I mean. And then I decided to go to Peru, because I'm like, I can do this. I'm afraid. I am still afraid of vomiting. It's not a thing that I enjoy. When I vomit, I'm very loud and very conscious and shameful. I was not too sure where I was going with that, but basically, I do those 2 mushroom trips. They kick my ass, and I was doing a lot of cannabis ceremony. I was doing great, and I thought to myself, maybe it's the cannabis. Is the cannabis the thing that is destroying my ability to not feel like this is a grind? There should be a way for me to be here and now with my breath while doing my chores, because I do it sometimes, but I get triggered and then I lose it all, and I can't do it for a certain amount of time until I get it back. But I have to go through all of my shame and my anger before I can see the light and go back to being peaceful, and then I get triggered again so fast. And so it was a constant, but I knew that I could. I've done it. And so I stopped cannabis, and now I go really depressed. And I think to myself, all right, it's just because I need to let it out of my system. 2 weeks pass. And in the past, I've been smoking cannabis since I was 16. And every time that I quit, it's after the first week, you really cry and let out your. It was for me back in the day. I used to cry because I didn't cry ever really growing up. I used to cry only when I would quit weed for a little bit, and then I would lose the ability to cry again. Anyways, 4 weeks pass, 5 weeks, 6 weeks, and I am miserable. Everything is screaming, you are not doing what you want to do. You are limiting yourself again because of fear. Fear of cannabis, fear of dying, fear of, what are you doing? Stop with those fears. Embrace life so that you can just move forward with a good attitude. This fear thing that you're doing, you've seen it. You've put it all on the mat in Sapoland. Why are you carrying that again, and why are you limiting yourself? So I'm like, yes, but I don't want to depend on something. I want to go everything at this time. Not everything. There was a few people that was saying like, you are it. There's nothing else you need but yourself, and once you're at peace with yourself, you'll be at peace with the world. And I am believing that. So anyways, I was believing that as well, so I continued with not smoking cannabis. I somehow, out of the blue, and it was really random, a best friend of mine from back in the day decided to contact me and reach out and say, hey, and I started to hang out with him again, and it was exciting. For such a long time, I didn't have a friend, and he was really interested in psychedelic. He never done psychedelic. I was talking to him about him. I was being upfront and honest, and that's one thing. When he came back in my life, I had such an honor system inside of me of, this is how I behave, with no fear. I am though, and I kept saying stuff like, I am love, I am, and I listened to Ram Dass, and I believe in spirituality, and this is who I am. And I showed him my sapo breathing, letting it all out on the mat, crying. I cried in front of him the second day he came to my place, and I felt great, and it felt great. He was on board. It was amazing, and he says, yeah, let's do psychedelic. And he's the very courageous type. Very. He, strong man, confident when it comes to adventure, not want to shy away from fear because of falling or breaking your arm. That's me. He is the opposite of that. But still, with issues, when it comes to mommy and daddy, same with me. Same as all of us, really, man. And he decides to go and buy some penis envy, and he wants to do 3.5 grams with me on his first try. And I'm like, are you sure, dude? This is insane. It will kick our ass. You will go through your trauma. You will have no choice. I hope you're ready to cry, to breathe, to go through it. And he's like, yeah, I got this. It's going to be great. We decide to do lemon tech. And I've never done lemon tech before, but I hear it's a popper. Like, it hits you fast. It's a roller coaster. And I was ready for it. Hey, man, I had a partner to trip at home here that is amazing. Somebody to go in the dark places of my heart and my soul, and where I can hold his hand and maybe cry, but really I wanted to be a warrior. I wanted to grab that warrior that was still looming over me and getting triggered. And I wanted to embrace him, love him, and say, yo, man, we got this. Let's go. I see you. You know, the previous trips on mushroom was showing me about my body. I am love. The breath, I was really doing good at CrossFit. The cold was getting back. It was still a grind. But hey, let's do it. 3.5 gram of penis envy. Just take a second to think about that for your first try. Insane. So we take the mushroom, lemon tech. The entire trip, it's simple. I'm going to tell you the trip report. We were flat on our, on our ass. Like basically, I was laying down, tummy down, and I couldn't move. The mushroom was pinning us down to the ground, and for the entire trip, I was basically crying, pinned down, and breathing and crying and breathing, and everything felt like it was decaying around me, dying really bad at this time. It was before the previous trip was just a minor, kind of inward sucking motion. This one was decay. I could see myself in the in my hands was getting like a bony and dying, and my friend was out of his mind. He was mind blown, and me, I was just on the ground. The mushroom was spinning me down the entire trip. At the end of the trip, I felt defeated again because there was less and less lessons. More and more, it was just showing me that I am me, and this is you, and you are sad, and you have a lot of trauma, and period. And all right, cool. So I'm defeated. But at this time now, because I'm so defeated, I just want to do something that I want to do. And I roll myself a joint and I decide to go outside on the porch and just smoke that joint. And I was still feeling the mushroom. The mushroom was still kind of heavy on my shoulders, but it was not pinning me down, and I could walk. And I got a little bit of food, I drank some. And I went outside and I smoked that joint. And as soon as I smoked that joint, because the voices in my head and the archetypes were really starting to fade because of my practice of taking a deep breath in and saying I am love, I was really dedicated to it. It's not like I was just doing it 10 times and then I would forget about it. I would do it all the time. It was better for me to not have any thoughts than to think of anything that was triggering me. And I didn't have the patience, and yet I was still getting triggered. They were coming out from nowhere. And go outside, smoke the joint. And the tree in front of me, it was super beautiful. It was very misty, summery day, warm outside, and the mist was make it kind of rain where my tree, the leaves had little droplets everywhere, and all of the little droplets turned into eyes. And as soon as it did that, the cannabis said hi to me in my inner monologue, in my mind, in my awareness, and I knew it was I imagined it was the tree talking to me. So it's fun to be insane in those states and just believe you're a wizard. But there was eyes, so that's who was talking to me, because I saw the eyes open and it says hi, and I felt such a comfort, like, oh man, I needed you. Where have you been? And she said, well, not that she said, but we were communicating back and forth about where I was telling, she was basically my psychologist for 10 minutes or so. And when I was smoking now, my throat started to hurt again because of my years of smoking cigarettes and smoking joints. There was a pain in my neck, and it's always been there, and I've never had cancer, but it's like I don't want cancer in the neck, and my fear of death was really strong at the time, and it came up as I was smoking the joint. So even though I was really feeling the relief of her being by my side, and it related to mother. Every time that I smoked cannabis, when I say cannabis was speaking to me, basically it was mother. that's all I wanted to have cannabis for. All of my ceremonies of cannabis that I had done since then, which is every night, was basically to be with Mother. I didn't want anything else anymore. Before, it used to be specific, like, oh, I want heart opening, I want this, I want that. Nah. At the end is, I just want to be with Mother. I want to be with Mother. I don't care. I want to be with Mother. And Mother would just be there, comfort me, support me, bring me more peace inside the house. And when, of course, my wife saw this and was very open to the idea of me doing this practice and self-medicating, because she was saying the good thing, but I was still getting triggered, but a lot less, because I had this inner monologue of goodness. But the more that I did the meditation of I am love, the more that voice was leaving me. So when I smoked that joint that evening with the mushroom, it kind of came back really loud, and it was very comforting. It was a lot less quiet. It was a lot less alone. Like now, as we speak, there is no voice inside my head, so there is this aloneness that is inside of my heart most all the time. So anyway, it comes back, and I talk to her, and I'm get the throat pain, and I tell her, hey, can we do something about this? I want to do so much work with you. I want to grow. You've been teaching me so much. The mushroom is just kicking my ass. You're the only thing right now that's showing me daily progress. Like, you are teaching me in ways, but you're gonna kill me. I don't want to have cancer, and I don't want to feel like I have this dependence on you. I want to be able to, and I was trying to beg with her, and please, please, can you not kill me? Basically, I was asking for not dying. That's how scared I was about death. And clearly, inside my awareness, she says, hey, look at everything about me, everything. So I bring her in my awareness, all of the love, everything, everything, everything that is related to cannabis, inside my brain, awareness, muscles, everything. And I put it on one side, and I feel it just being on there. And then she says, think of your issue that you have about cannabis, the thing that you have in your throat. All of your fear, put it in a ball and just look at it, and pack it in a nice package, and tell me when you're done. And I package this feeling, and it's huge, and I'm so afraid of cancer. The Besne on my side, they die of cancer, and cancer, cancer, cancer. And and I see both now, and she's like, hey, just, do you see them? You've been really aware of your body. You've been really aware of your feelings. What I want you to do is just put them together and let them fight it out. Like, let them be aware, just like you did with the mushroom today. You were just looking at it nonstop all the time. Just do the same. Look at those two feelings, and there's going to be an answer that's going to come out at the end. But the more you look at it, the more you will be able to decipher what you want, what is happening. And I'm like, all right. So I prepare, I take a few deep breaths. I'm high now in the mushroom, so it's very, again, moment by moment. It's very extreme, and I love that. But it's heavy. After 5 hours, 4 hours of mushrooms, it's really heavy. So it was heavy. I put they're both on one side. I put them together, and when I did that, I remember having the joint in my head, and I kind of flickered the joint, because the power of those two emotion going together and working, basically fighting. Just like Sapo, when I got into Sapo land, I said, what the fuck, I'm here for a reason, and I just jumped into it, and it took me for a ride when I did Bufo Alvarius. And same with the fourth ceremony, where I decided to take all of my archetypes and puke, and then it brought me to, again, this blissful place, and I just fell into it. These two feelings hitting each other and starting to fight did the same thing inside my awareness, that I jumped back and I said, I don't want to see that. Like, I don't want to be part of that. Yeah, I remember. I don't want to be part of that. As if I was not ready to face that much of an extreme experience. And as soon as I jumped backwards, and I said, I don't want to be a part of that. And I realized that those two feelings that were inside of me are now outside of me and fighting, because they were still fighting. I just jumped backwards and I allowed them to fight, but I was no longer part of it. I could see them like in a big bubble of fighting, but it doesn't matter. As soon as I saw that they were not me and the trigger, everything in my awareness turned to darkness, as if those two fighting force triggered an experience. And I knew that I was going into an experience, so I started to breathe, like really the Wim Hof style, like deep, as if I was falling. Bufo Alberta's fourth ceremony, I fell into that experience. I'm never going to pass an experience. If I feel an experience come my way, I will breathe to it and go into it. That's, if anything I've learned, I will do that. So I start doing that. Breathe towards the experience, and I put my hand towards my throat where it was hurting. Everything turns to black, and where I'm at is in a grassy field where every strand of grass is a soul, and it's screaming in agony and it's dying, and I'm inside that grass field, part of them screaming in agony and dying, and rah, I don't want to die, and just fighting the walls of my awareness with all of these little grass souls thing that were just dying with me. And I could see it was endless energies. Everything was dying with me. Everything that was around me, my car, my house, life, the air, everything is alive and has a soul and is dying with me. And I just allowed the experience. The vision was so powerful and so strong that I was fighting death, basically death. And I don't want to die, I don't want to die, and everything was fighting with me. So there was this comfort, and the grass kept going over and over me saying, fight, fight, fight as much as you want. I am here for you. We will die together. Fight, fight until you're done fighting, until you have no more. Fight, fight. And I was fighting, and then when I was done fighting, I allowed myself to die, and we all died together. Every single strain of grass that was so dark and so gray and so sad, and we died. And as soon as we died, it was so instant. Poof! Everything turned into a beautiful, I swear to God, rainbow, green grass, blue sky, candy land of a place, and everybody was singing. The cry, the agony turned into a beautiful song, and everything was singing. And it was this such beautiful harmony. And inside that harmony, there's some voices that comes in and say, look, he can see us. He can see us. And then as if a million voices are answering, he can see us. Look at this. And then a lot of them were happy that I was seeing them, and me in that state, I was still going through the experience, but some of them were happy that I was seeing them. Some of them were like, yes, this is the way, that's how you do it. You wake up and now you see us, and congratulations. Yes. And there were some that were frustrated because of the disrespect that I had shown all of my life, thinking that I was alone, that I had no, and of course I was crying right during this experience and breathing hard, but that I look at this king shit. He feels like he's all alone, and everybody's dying with you, dude. Like every single person is gonna go through what you're gonna go through, just kind of thing. And I was so amazed and I was so baffled at the idea that I felt, of course, truly insane. I do feel truly insane, because that is something that kind of got cemented into me, the idea that in this world anyways, we're all that, no matter what happens on the other side, it doesn't prove that, there's going to be something or whatever. It doesn't matter. Or if there's a God or whatever, but it gave me a good feeling about my insanity and about how to use creativity and really a surrender, an inner surrender inside my own head, inside my own awareness, to allow the voice to be free, so that if one voice comes in and would tease you or whatever, you are not that voice. You can just talk back to that voice and say, that's not what I want. And since that day, and since that moment, really, because that experience lasted, I don't know, 15, 20 minutes. I was crying, and it was amazing to have this harmony and talking to these voice for, a long period of the night, joking with them. And it was really a trip having this audience of voices and energy inside my awareness coming from my car. And my car, as a whole, was a voice. His headlight was a voice. The hood itself, the color, the everything has a voice, and it's individual and it works together, and we're all in this together. It's basically like mother's children, and we are helping each other create this reality all together, but we have to do it together. And it showed me that I am the awareness. That's it, that's all. I am not this body. I'm not your job. Oh yeah, and that's the thing too. When I woke up and I saw all of these things singing and they were talking to me back, the biggest thing that blew my mind, or that I was kind of upset about, or I was not coming to terms with, was the idea that, okay, wait a second. All of these feelings, everything that I'm feeling, this body, this illusion, is not me. Correct. Then what's my job? Like, why the fuck am I here? Like, to just be the witness? Like, I'm a puppet? Basically, I'm whatever is shown in front of me, I see, I process as if I'm a computer. I'm a CPU, basically. And they were like, yeah. And I'm like, well, what's the point? Like, I don't want to be just a tool. And they're like, no, but you don't understand. Like, we need you. And I'm like, what do you mean you need me? We need you. You're the one that's creating all this. We are here to give you this bliss, to give you your teaching, to give you your experience. We're here to show you how much of a freaking God you are, and how much you could just experience by choosing what you want to experience. And I'm like, I want to experience fucking being a billionaire, and it's like, that's not, it's not how it works. You don't trust, like, she was really saying, like, you think I'm you. You're still having difficulty differentiating. Like, you're still thinking that you are insane. If you fully let go, and you will get your abundance, you will get everything you want. You just have to trust the process. They were teaching that in Peru. Trust the process, trust. And grow, continue doing the work, continue talking to me, continue sharing, continue, whatever. Do what you need to do. It's a slow process. And I was still, so that's it. My only job is to witness. Yeah. To witness. And I was on a loop on that. I was like, really? As if, like, and I couldn't come to terms to the idea that my body is in a state of bliss all the time. That's what they teach. And the only reason why I'm feeling the way I'm feeling is because I'm not remembering. But then I was saying, I remember, but I'm still feeling this way. And then it made me think, are the feelings that I'm seeing a lie, an illusion, And that idea cemented itself inside of me. And it was it's perfect to think that you are not these feelings, that you're not this body, allows yourself to trust Mother. I don't know, that's my thing. You do you. I'm just saying, at that time, it really cemented that part, and it shot me in that direction. So now I was starting to get silent mind-esque, where the voice in my head was not there. It was because I was doing the I am love, but I knew that it's because I was hard on it. And now that mushroom trip was gave me a break so that I didn't have to do this I am love thing all the time to silence, because now the voices that were in my head were not me. So you didn't have to get attached to them. So I gave up that I am love stuff and I just let my thoughts be. But because now I saw them for who they were, they were not so annoying. And if they were, I could just tease them and just, it's all good. And like, but the feelings were still there. The grind was still there. And I just was more aware of it. So it's like the more I grew, the more I could tolerate the grind, but the more that the grind was getting heavy. So I could tolerate it more, but the grind was getting heavy, as if, that saying that God gives you just as much as you can handle and continues kind of doing that. So I was getting that feeling all the time, as if it was growing in suffering, but I could handle it and I could be aware of it. And I was getting good at, like, the contrast every day was getting better and better. But every time that I would fail, I would feel shame and continue down the path of like negative circle shame. So I learned about shame resilience from Renee Brown book, and during that time I started doing more of this shame resilience stuff too. I was afraid of taking off my shirt last year before, and now I was starting to remove my shirt so that I could get my vitamin D. I deserve this. This body deserves vitamin D. This body deserves the sun. This body deserves to move. This body deserves to not be so afraid when he goes for a walk and he decides to lift up his arms and do a stretch. That's one thing. When I went to China, when I was a flight attendant, I went to China, I would notice that the culture over there, the old people would be all in the parks or at the bus station, and they'd be moving their arms, they'd be moving their legs, they'd be moving, and it was fun to see. And I was like, this is so cool. I want to do this, but I don't want to be the only one. Well, I started to be the only one doing these type of things, and it started to feel good. That penis envy shamanic trip that I did was such a blessing, because now at this time I was doing, again, going back to my cannabis ceremonies. I was releasing by doing the sapo breath, and things were getting better. We're getting better. So I'm gonna leave it there because I've got another mushroom trip in sight for you, but I want to keep it for the next episode. Thank you for listening. It's always a blessing. This integration feels great. I am love. I am blessed. I am safe. I am enough. That one, I am enough. And the shame that I have, I am not bigger than this shame, but I have to be less hard on myself, but I feel like it's not who I am, and it's difficult, but we got this. We got this. Love you, Dom. Love you, Doe. Love you guys.